What's good, gamers? Welcome back to another episode of Fizzy MTG, guys. Today, we're going to be taking a look at some upgrades for the starter kit. And we're not going to be opening this bad boy up. We've already opened one of these on the channel. If you want to see that video, go check it out. Hopefully, there'll be a link either at the end card or in the description. But we have already unboxed this bad boy. But I got a comment from one of you guys asking about how to upgrade sort of the green-red deck. And I'm going to go through what I've done, and some of you may not consider it an upgrade. We'll see. But I did take it upon myself just to sort of see how well it would work. I've upgraded both of these decks. We're going to go over one per video. We're going to do 2 videos. Just that way it's separate. If you don't want to see this one, you don't have to watch it. If you don't want to see this one, click on the other video for this one. We're going to go through this one first. But I will say both of these decks were upgraded using cards that I got from this $20 lot, which I have also opened on the channel. So if you guys are wondering, they're not expensive sort of upgrades. It's just basically because I wanted to say, like, okay, you're a new player out there, you got these starter decks, you've played them, and you're like, man, like these are kind of cool, but I want to like make them my own, sort of see what I got. But you're not one of those guys that's like at the point where, you can just look, oh, let me just, basically take 2 of the rares out that I like and put it in one of my cool decks. You want to make this deck what it is, but kind of better, but you don't want to break the bank. So maybe you're like, I got $20, let me buy one of those 1,000 card lots, see if I can get something cool out of it, if I can use any of it. Again, your mileage may vary, but I was able to use it to upgrade these, so we're going to jump into it. We're going to start with the green-red one. And we'll see what we got here. And I'll show you first of all the cards that I cut. And the point of this video is basically to say, like, I want to explore or explain sort of what I think, at least, the way to upgrade a deck is, so that no matter what deck you're upgrading, you kind of have a strategy so it doesn't just apply to this. It could technically apply to any deck. So the first the cards I cut are Creepy Puppeteers, I cut the Voldaren Stingers, I cut Mounted Dread Knight, all of them, I cut the Burn the Accursed, I cut High Rise Sawjack, I cut 1 Witch's Web, and then I took out 7 lands. Now you guys might be like, why? Why did you take out 7 lands? Well, the answer is the starter kit decks come with 27 lands, and most people will tell you to build a deck between, like, a lot of people say 22 to 24. I've heard some people say 25 to 27. I tend to make my sort of highest land count in most decks is 20. I may be dumb, I don't know, but to me it seems to perform way better than if I do 24. Now, I will say in some cases where it doesn't matter if I get mana screwed, typically, then I might go as high as 22, but most of the time that's going to be about the highest. All right, so how do we upgrade the green-red deck, or any deck in general? Now, I should have probably organized these cards into some sort of a method. As a matter of fact, actually, let's kind of zoom out here, and we're going to separate. See, here's our cut cards. We're going to leave them here. We're going to separate into 3 piles, 1 for lands, 1 for cards we kept in the deck, and 1 for new cards we added. So here's a kept in, here's a land, kept in, added, and I'm going to speed this up, and I'll be back to you once I've got the piles. Okay, so the first question that we want to ask ourselves whenever trying to figure out what we should do to upgrade a deck, basically, is what does this deck care about? What does it want to do? So we already know the land situation. I have removed it down to essentially exactly 20 lands. We've got 8 forests, 8 mountains, and then 8 hybrid mana green-red lands. So, oh, sorry, if you guys hear some fireworks, it's currently the 4th of July when I'm recording this, so there might be some fireworks in the background as people around me are celebrating the 4th of July. What I thought this deck wanted to do, basically, is to create modified creatures and be able to get them through to deal damage and be able to ping your opponent for a lot of damage. Because we do have, again, and you might seem like, well, or think there's only one Thundering Raiju. So why build the deck around Thundering Raiju? Well, first of all, it's not really built around Thundering Raiju himself necessarily, even though he is a huge part of it. I mean, he's got haste. He does pump a creature whenever he comes into the field. I mean, not when he comes into play, but whenever he attacks. And then he pings your opponent for every modified creature you control. So he is a win con, but he is not sort of the only win con. Again, green is one of the things... Like, typically green wants to swing big and win with big creatures in a lot of cases. So I went with sort of like the +1/+1 counters route with the upgrade. But I did keep in Thundering Raiju. I kept in Lambholt Harrier. So I'm just going to sort of label them. And if you want to know what each of these cards does, you can go check out the video going over this deck. But if you're trying to upgrade it, you probably know what everything in this deck does. So we kept Ascendant Packleader, our other Lambholt Harrier. We kept our Flourishing Hunter, Spore Crawler, Abrade, Timberland Guide, and Topiary Stomper, Witch's Web, one or two of them, and Glorious Sunrise, which this is actually a really versatile card for this deck in a lot of cases because it can help get our boys modified for our Thundering Raiju. So the first thing I wanted to look at is I did put a few cards in this deck where I put like multiple copies. So in this case I put three of I believe 3 different cards. And the first one is Temur Battle Rage, which for 1 and a red is an instant. Target creature gains double strike until the end of turn, which already just gaining double strike can be really useful for being able to do a lot of various shenanigans, and it can be helpful for clearing boards because you have first strike damage and then you have the damage after that, so you can get rid of much bigger creatures or swing without worry in a lot more situations. So it's very useful. Plus, as Ferocious, the creature gains trample until the end of turn if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. Our Thundering Raiju is a 3/3, and our Topiary Stomper is already a 4/4. And if Thundering Raiju attacks, he can put a +1/+1 counter on himself. So it's really easy to be able to gain trample with this and swing for 8 with either of those creatures. We have 3 of this, and it can be very useful. Next, we have Crash Through. Now, again, another thing with swinging with creatures that this deck didn't have on its own for very much. Now, granted, it did have Mounted Dread Knight, but we took it out in favor of Crash Through. And I'll show you sort of what my thinking was with this. Let me just find a Mounted Dread Knight here. So, Mounted Dread Knight is a 5-drop 5/4 with trample, and it enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it if an opponent lost life this turn. Okay, so it could be modified if you've dealt damage, and it does have trample. Not bad. It's a 5-drop. Well, this is a 1-drop. Creatures you control gain trample until the end of turn, and you get to draw a card. It is much simpler than Mounted Dread Knight, but it can accomplish almost the same thing. Doesn't require opponent to have lost life. It doesn't modify a creature, but it doesn't matter. In conjunction with your board state, and depending on how you do it, this gives every creature you control trample until the end of turn. And you get to draw a card. That's why we put 3 in this deck. And again, these are very easy to cast, and they're very cheap cards, so, they're easy to get your hands on. Shock, it is very simple. 1 mana, instant, Shock deals 2 damage to any target. It can be useful for removal, or you can get that last bit of damage through on your opponent to finish him off. We put 3 of those in here. Now these, I put 1 of every card in my hand here now, just as some extra gas to kind of help get the job done. So first of all, we've got Incremental Growth, which is 3 a green and a green for sorcery. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature, 2 1/1 counters on another target creature, and 3 1/1 counters on a third target creature. So, granted, you're going to want 3 creatures for this to work, but you instantly modify 3 creatures and do so in a big way. And again, if you're doing this to creatures other than Thundering Raiju, you can build your board state, even it out, and then whenever you use a simple Crash Through, all of them gain trample. Or you can use Temur Battle Rage, give them double strike, and it's just, swing through and have fun. Very easy to get a 4/4 from that as well. Next, we have Quest for the Gemblades, 1 and a green for an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a creature, which is much easier to do in a lot of cases than dealing combat damage to a player, especially if they block, you may put a quest counter on Quest for the Gemblades. Remove a quest counter from Quest for the Gemblades and sacrifice it. Put 4 1/1 counters on target creature. So that's going to modify it, and you're going to have at least 4, so your Temur Battle Rage now gives trample as well as double strike. Again, even if you put this on a 1/1, he swings for 10 and has trample. Have fun. Rhox Maulers, it's 4 and a green for a trample 4/4 with renown 2, which means when this creature deals combat damage to a player, if it isn't renowned, put 2 1/1 counters on it and it becomes renowned. There you go. Another creature that modifies itself when you get damage through. Use your Lambholt Harrier to make that a little easier. Firebreathing. 1 mana, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+0 until the end of turn. For each red mana you pay, keep that in mind. And because it is enchanted with an aura, it is modified. This can be another win con and can be very, very useful. Then we have Oran-Rief Survivalist. And again, don't buy a $20 1,000 card lot expecting to get these exact cards. The chances of that are probably very slim. But in every 1,000 card lot that I myself have bought, now again, I'm not saying go buy these, but I have got things that I can use to upgrade some decks and or just build new decks that you can usually find a strategy. And if you can't find a strategy in one color, you usually can if you have 2 colors that work together. So that makes this much easier. Oran-Rief Survivalist, 1 and a green for a human warrior ally. Whenever Oran-Rief Survivalist or another ally enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a 1/1 counter on Oran-Rief Survivalist. So the ally text is not important because we don't really have any more of those, but this guy will modify himself when he enters the battlefield. Very useful. Next we have Blanchwood Armor, 2 and a green for an enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each forest you control. We're in green-red. We're probably going to get up to 4 forests most likely at some point in the game, so it's going to at least give, at least 1 because you have to have 1 to cast it. So, and you're going to modify your creature. It's going to get bigger, and if you've got, if you had mana flood to this point in the game for some reason, which you shouldn't because you've only got 20 lands, maximum you should be able to get this boy up to adding 8/8 to your creatures, and that's pretty good. Unless Rugged Highland says it is a mountain forest. I'm not sure. I know it's a dual land, so it could be. If that's the case, then it could be 12/12. Have fun. Get double strike on it and swing it with trample and just destroy your opponent. Next, we have Ezuri's Archer. It's a 1-drop 1/2 with reach. Now, the reason I put this in is because we did take out our high-rise Sawjack, and so we need something to be able to get rid of flyers. This is a 1-drop, way better than a high-rise Sawjack, and whenever it blocks a creature with flying, just like high-rise Sawjack, it gets +3/+0 until the end of turn, whereas high-rise Sawjack gets +2/+0, but it is I believe it's +2/+0, but it is a 2/3, this is a 1/2. Still, to me, this is a better card. Now, granted, there are only 1 of these, but that's okay. That is okay. We also have Mold Adder, and now, a lot of times you might not put this card in a deck like this unless you know what you're facing, and being that we know that we're sort of building these to go up against each other, we know we're going to be facing blue. Whenever an opponent casts a blue or black spell, you may put a 1/1 counter on Mold Adder. So get this boy on the field, let your opponent pump it for you, and it will be modified. Next, we've got a Bramblewood Paragon, 1 and a green for an elf warrior. Each other warrior you control comes into play with an additional 1/1 counter on it. Each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it has trample. Suddenly, all our modified creatures don't even need our battle rages and crash throughs to gain trample. They just do it from being modified. This is another potential win con. And of course, we've got ourselves a Steam Spitter, which is 4 and a green for a spider. You got to put a spider in a green deck if you can, especially if you have no way to block flying. Steam Spitter can block as though it had flying, and you can pay 1 red repeatedly to get +1/+0 until the end of turn. So if you've got 5 red mana laying around, then make this boy a 6/5 and destroy your opponent's flyers with ease. But that's how I would go about upgrading this deck. And again, to break it down to the core of what happens here, what I did, I looked at the cards already in the deck. I saw that there were +1/+1 counter themes, and they seemed to synergize well with gaining +1/+1. So I wanted to see how I could turn that into my win con. In the case being evasion, trample, being able to swing with enough power that it doesn't really matter if they block. They're going to die once the combat damage goes through anyway. And if they do block, they're going to have to block with everything they have just to be able to survive. And then they're going to be empty, leaving you to swing in for the win. So just think about what does the deck feel like it wants to do? I know that can be an easy thing to say and a harder question to kind of answer, But you should be able to see a theme within the cards whenever you look at them roughly and be able to tell sort of how it works. But that's going to do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of it. I hope this helps the person who asked in the comments. If you watched, hit me up. Let me know in the comments if you like this. If you want a different kind of explanation, let me know. Maybe I'll see what I can do. But that's going to do it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.